So next we're going to be talking about underappreciated horror games.
That's
I mean,
right.
there's
Or,
been
or
there's been
spooky
so
games.
many, or spooky
Let's say
games.
some spooky games because not all
Well,
these are horror games to be fair, but they have
correct.
spooky elements or something along those lines.
Spooky elements. There's so many over the
Hmm.
years. Been
Hmm.
so many, and some of them get more love than others.
Yes.
So that's why you and I started talking, and it was like, man, these games just need more love. So we're going to
Hmm.
show a handful of games that we felt should get a little bit more love. And we're going to kick things off with Buffy for the Xbox.
That's right.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer was an Xbox exclusive. It kind of played as an episode of the TV show, had the
Hmm.
original voice actors.
Yep.
That game was top notch. Top notch.
They did make a sequel, which was good. Not as good as the first one, I would say, but
It was fine.
I loved this game so much, and I watched the show. That show was really popular, and that show was way better than it should have been. Like thinking back to like that time, like why is this show good? Like it doesn't even make any sense. But it was. It was a good show, and the game I think I enjoyed even more than the show. The game was like the gameplay was solid.
Hmm.
Playing through the game was like basically watching an episode of the show essentially, and you had all the voice actors there, like Wes said. You guys definitely got to check that game out. If you have an original Xbox, I don't think there's any way to play this as backwards compatibility goes. But if you can get a copy and you have an OG Xbox, you should definitely check this out.
The one thing I often wondered, and if it actually came out on PS2, would it have sold more?
Hmm. I'm sure that it would have. I don't doubt that. This wasn't exclusive, obviously, that was Wes just alluded to. Um, but I would have to assume so. I mean, Wes, just off of this alone, like let's not even talk about how popular the show was or anything like that. The PS2 to this day is still the best selling console of all time.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way they missed out on a ton of sales for sure by not having this thing on the PS2.
I mean, but then we could have looked at it. Was the PS2 strong enough to run it? Because Xbox was a slightly more powerful system.
It was. I can't think of anything specifically that would like allude to that either. That would say this can't run on a PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it may not. Typically, the games could run on either system, but usually, if you looked at them like side by side, the Xbox ones tended to look a little bit better because it had some
Mm-hmm.
more power behind it.
But yeah, I mean, it sold enough because we got a sequel. When the sequel did come out on PS2,
Oh, did it? I don't remember that.
yeah, yeah, it did come out
It
on
did.
PS2.
It did. You're right.
It did.
So strange. Man, that must not
Yeah.
have been a timed exclusive then, because you would think they would have like, if a year had passed, they would have like
Mm-hmm.
released the first one on PS2 and then like eventually got to the second one. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's still like a huge legion of Buffy fans out there. That Buffy came out with a comic book series, and people
Yep.
are asking for it. When the game came out, I mean, like I said, we sold it pretty decent in the store, just based on what it was. Was it a system seller? No, but it did sell pretty well, and it
Yeah.
was
If
it
you had
was
an
a
Xbox, it was a
good
game worth
game.
buying. It was. It was a very good game. If you had an Xbox, this was definitely a game you should pick up,
Hmm.
without a doubt. Next up, I just picked this up. I just got a copy of this on the OG Xbox, as we're keeping that theme. But I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I've only had the game for a couple months. But Wes, tell me about Blood Omen 2.
Oh, Legacy of Kain. Oh man, that was decent, pretty decent. It started off as a PlayStation 1 top down, like isometric pseudo role playing game, adventure game, but then it kind of went to the 3D side of things, because that's where Azrael's kind of spun out of Soul Reaver. But Blood Omen, you played as Cain. You played as the vampire Cain, and you hunted people, and you sucked their blood, and you fought enemies, and it had a story to it. It had a story behind it, and it, it Legacy of Kain did have a following. I won't say it's as extensive as Buffy, but it did have a following because everybody fell in love with Raziel from Soul Reaver.
Which of those series did you like the best?
You know what? I like the Blood Omen series.
Yeah.
I like the ones with Kane. I mean, the Raziel ones were good, but it dealt with the whole dimension shifting because you went from like present day to the past and structures would change. But then there was a game that combined both of them since they came from the same universe.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen 2. It was enjoyable. It's not too crazy expensive if you could find it. Decent
No, I think I got my
storyline.
copy for like I think I got a deal on it too. I think they were asking like 20 and I paid like 15 or 10 for it or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was not expensive at all.
Oh yeah. It's Please play it. Yeah, I think you would enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get to that at some point for sure. The next one I never played, but I've always wanted this, and I still don't own a copy. Kind of irks me a little bit. I can, I really wanted to play this when it came out, and it was just, I didn't have money for everything, so you had to pick and choose what I got, and this was one
Mhm.
of them that I let go, that I kind of regret letting go. And I can go buy a copy today and play it. I just need to have the time. But this game always looked cool. Just the cover alone sold me on it, and that is The Suffering for PS2, and I think it was also on Xbox.
Mhm. I never played it either. I held it in my hand several times and just never.
It reviewed
I
pretty
don't know.
well.
It did. I mean, it did because it got a sequel.
It did, yeah. The
It,
cover is like to me the cover is iconic. I mean, if you were alive and like in a not like too young and you saw that cover, I think it would stick with you. It was a guy getting shocked in an electric chair. Like it was very, very memorable. I can picture it in my head like very vividly.
okay, there was a movie, and I want to say it's from the '80s of just that picture.
Oh, it was
It
like the
was a
same thing?
Yeah, guy in an electric chair getting shocked, and it was a movie, and
Okay.
I can't remember what the movie was. I'll remember it, but yes, if you come across it and compare the two, I think that's where they got the premise from because the guy didn't die.
Yeah.
It's like he got electrocuted and he didn't die, and this was in the movie, and the suffering kind of same thing.
Yeah. But go check the game out, guys. If you see it, definitely pick it up. I'm sure it's worth getting. I will definitely be picking one up if I can find one out in the wild for a reasonable price. Wes, this next one's all you because I don't know anything about this. I'd never seen the movie, never played the game. I know
What
this is like a classic movie. I actually hear the game is very well too. So
it
tell me all about
was?
the thing.
Oh man, the thing was. You've never seen the thing, the movie, the original movie with Kurt Russell?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay, so the premise is they are in the Antarctic and group of I can't remember. I don't think they were explorers, but they go and investigate, this base, and an alien shows up, but the alien can kind of mimic whatever it touches. So you
Mm.
don't know who is the thing or not.
That's an
Um,
awesome premise. That's awesome. I love that.
the movie it definitely had a sense of paranoia. But like, there's one scene in the movie that I'll never ever forget. It's like the creature kind of comes out of this dude's body, a la alien style, and the head falls to the ground, but then it grows legs like a spider and like
Oh,
crawls
that is
away.
awesome. Oh my
So
god, that's so fantastic.
so the game picks up after the movie because
What?
in the movie, Kurt Russell survives and he does a recording of what's going on. You are a team sent to find out what happened to the first team, and you come across that same recording that Kurt Russell did. So it
Oh,
picks
man.
up. It picks up right after the movie, uh, and you again it's the same premise. Like the alien can mimic, so you don't know who the thing is and who it isn't, and a sense of paranoia sets in with the other players in the game because they don't trust you, and it's oh my god, it was, and it's scary. It is so scary.
Dude, you're making me want to check out not just the game, but I definitely feel like I need to go back and check out the movie. Holy cow!
Yeah. Oh man, I remember picking it up. I knew it was coming out, and I want to say Sierra or Universal put it out because we had a rep that used to come in the store, and I kept talking about, oh my god, I can't wait for this movie to think, can't wait for it to think, and he's like, oh, here you go. And I was like, oh my god, dude, I played it to completion like that night. It was it was so good. I enjoyed it so much. You know, I wish they do another one or do a remake. You know, I'd love to see it on the game side. I really would.
I wish more companies would do that if they're not going to make sequels to their movies. Like, just put them out in a game form. Like, that's so gnarly. Like, that's awesome, man. Like, Ghostbusters did that before. Like the most recent reboot of Ghostbusters, that video game that came out probably around I don't know 2014, 2015. Something. Actually, it might have been even older than that. But that one that came out was just called Ghostbusters, the video game. That was considered Ghostbusters 3 at the time.
Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah. Yep. So I
Huh.
love when stuff when companies do things like that. I might
Well,
have to
yeah,
go check this out.
that's similar like the Buffy, because like the Buffy was like an extension of the series. It was
Mhm.
another episode.
Yeah,
It played like
it was
another
another
episode.
episode. It's exactly how it was. So if you were watching the show and stuff, you would just it would fit in perfectly.
It would. It would. I'd love that premise. That's great. They need to do it more often.
Absolutely. So the next game we brought up before, but we're going to bring it up again. And my question to you, Wes, will be: if you watch the movies, is this, since we're having a talk about extensions, is this an extension of Aliens? Speaking of Alien Isolation.
Yes, it is. It's an extension of the first Alien because you deal with
Okay.
one alien
Okay.
and you are Ripley's daughter in
Okay.
search of your mother.
That's awesome.
It is. So you're on this derelict spaceship and you find, with the crew and everything, and it's scenes and from the movie, from the original Alien movie. But there's an alien on board, and I wanted a sequel so bad, and they never gave me one.
Yeah,
And
this is something I need to check out.
I don't think Alien Isolation got the love it deserved because that game was fantastic. It was so good.
Yeah, I definitely need to get into it at some point, man. Like I said, I love like Metroid and stuff. I beat Metroid Zero earlier this year, and it was fantastic. Obviously, I played the GBA version of that, so
Mm.
just that whole vibe of you being alone, aliens, no one's around you. You're there to do everything yourself, essentially. Are there other people in the game? I didn't even ask that. So, are you by yourself, or are there other people?
You come across a few other people. They're like space pirates.
Okay.
There's rogue androids in
Oh,
there
okay.
that try to attack you. Um, but it's really all, and it's a lot of stealth because the thing is, when the alien shows up, it's he can hear you, and you hide in a locker, and there's a button where you can hold your breath because if you breathe, he can hear you, and he comes up to the locker, and it's just the tension that it just builds in that game. Oh my god, I loved it, and it had some of the best jump scares in a game that I've experienced in a long time because you're running down the hall, walking down the hall, and it's quiet, and all of a sudden the alien busts out of a vent, and it makes you want to drop your controller. Like, holy crap!